Hi there, and welcome back to our series where I am here answering your questions that you have sent in to me. And this this question is one if I had a nickel for every time someone asked me this question, I would be living on a private island somewhere. Now, before we dive in, welcome. My name is Megan Sumrell. I am a time management expert for women, and I am on a mission to bring work-life harmony to women all over the world, meaning that you get to live a life where you feel present in every moment. You have a proactive way of living, and your life is full of purpose. So let's jump in here and tackle this question, which is, Megan, how can I actually stick to my plan? Now, there's going to be a little bit of sort of tough love here today, but I am going to be sharing some actual tips with you as well. If you are someone that is like, hey, I'm good at making a plan, it's the sticking to it that gets really, really tricky, right? And guys, let's be honest. We all have things in our lives that we set the best of intentions for, that we kind of start to get in motion, but then we have a hard time sticking with it. So whether it's your actual planning or anything else new or changes that we're trying to make, new habits we're trying to put in place, old habits we're trying to get rid of, this is something that is 100% part of probably everybody's life in some way, shape, or form. Now, when it comes to sticking to your actual plan, I think it's important to first understand there are usually, and this should be covering 99.9% of the situations out there, the reason we don't stick to our plan is one of two reasons. All right. Reason number one is the plan was completely unrealistic to begin with. And as soon as we start on it, we realize like there is no way that this is going to happen. And so we just abandon the plan. Now, the second reason why we don't stick to our plans is more of a subtle one. And basically, we make a conscious or subconscious decision to ignore it or to avoid it. All right. We've made the plan and then we're just screw it. And we move on and we don't do it. All right, so we're going to talk about each one of those, and I'm going to give you some things to think about with each one. So first, let's take a step back. How do you know if it is number one, where the plan was just unrealistic, or if it is a situation where you just decided, I don't want to? All right, you're choosing to ignore your plan. So let's say you've gone through the effort of creating a plan, and then you realize you're not following it. So here's what I want you to do. First is to take a step back and really have an honest heart-to-heart discussion with yourself and look for these following signs. Did you start implementing your plan and then stop? If so, dig into why did you stop? Is it because it was unrealistic? You realized, just as you stepped into it, you're like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to get all this stuff done, and you stopped? Or did you start and then you stopped because it felt hard? Okay. It's important to understand that. Now, if you just flat out didn't even start on your plan, chances are you're going to fall into that number two bucket, right? The one where you just chose to ignore it. So let's take a look here at number one. If you are not sticking to your plan because your plan is unrealistic, what can we do to actually create realistic plans that are going to set you up with a much higher likelihood of actually following your plan? Well, it boils down to a little bit of math, meaning we need to understand what is realistic in terms of how much time we actually have in every given day and week to do the things that we have, laid out in our plan that we want to accomplish. And the easiest way for us to understand this is to actually run a time audit. And this is where I start everybody inside of my top program. Top is time management, organization, and productivity, my signature time management course. And the reason that we need to do this, again, it's not to feel bad about ourselves, but to have the awareness of where our time is being spent right now. I think the best way to explain this, or for us to be able to see it a little bit more tangibly, is think about, let's say you were wanting to get a better handle on your budget and your finances, right? Typically, the number one place we start is assessing how much money is coming in, and then where specifically is it going out, so that we can understand more tangibly what our income and our expenses are. Well, the same is true with our time. We need to know how much time do we have available? What time are we waking up? What time are we going to bed, right? So there's our available number of hours. And then over the course of an average week, where is our time going? And so once we understand the realities of our time, now that gives us a much better picture on how to create plans that are acknowledging what's our budget of time that we're working with and how much time is already, being expensed on things in day-to-day living. All right, so if you are someone that you realize every time I create a plan, I have to stop because it's just so unrealistic, pause and go run a time audit for yourself for an entire week where you're actually tracking over the course of your day, where is your time going? All right, now let's look at situation number 2. And this is the one where I think everybody's always looking for the easy button in life when it comes to starting a new habit. All right. Now, I am not the leading expert on habits or, avoiding procrastination and all of that. Everything that I'm going to share here is stuff that I have learned from others and experts in the field. Now, I will 100% encourage any of you that are watching this that are saying, hey, I create the plan, but I'm having a really hard time sticking with it, meaning I'm just avoiding it. I don't want to do it. 100% go read this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. You will find it is a wealth of information on understanding why we kind of maybe avoid new things, such as following a plan, and then things that you can do to actually help set you up for success. And I'm going to talk about one of them here today. So let's realize this isn't just about sticking with your plan. This really applies to anything. So when someone tells me, Megan, I'm really good at creating the plan, but then I don't stick to it, and we realize it's not about it being unrealistic, what we're saying is, hey, this is something new that I am trying to bring into my life. This is a new habit I'm trying to create. I am wanting to be someone that creates a plan and then habitually starts following the plan. This is no different than saying I'm wanting to start in on a new fitness routine or any new habit that we are either wanting to bring into our life or a habit that we are wanting to stop doing. What we're trying to do is change the identity of who we are from saying I'm someone who typically has not followed my plan to somebody who does follow my plan. All right. And one of the best tools that I have found that James Clear talks about, and so many others do as well, is the use of habit stacking. So habit stacking along with temptation bundling. So what are these two? So habit stacking is anytime we're trying to bring something new into our life. So, hey, I want to actually start following my plan. What we want to do is assess what habits do I already have in place that are happening on autopilot? And can I layer this new one to happen right after the one I'm already doing? Right? So it could be as maybe you already, instinctively come down, make a cup of coffee in the morning. Well, then it can be right after I make my cup of coffee, I am going to sit down and review the plan I created for the day, right? So now we're taking an existing habit and we're stacking it with the new one that we're trying to build. Now, temptation bundling along with this is, and again, this doesn't work for everybody. It 100% works for me. I'm all about like gamification and rewards. And the idea is that we bundle the new habit to see, is there something that I can be doing simultaneously as a reward for myself while doing this new habit that feels different. It might feel hard because it's new and it's different, right? So, I'll give you a planning example in a minute, but an easy one might be, hey, you're trying to get on that treadmill for 15 or 20 minutes a day, but man, you sure do want to binge watch this new season on Netflix. Well, the way you could bundle that is to say, I get to watch that only when I'm on the treadmill. So you're bundling the new thing with that temptation of and rewarding yourself for working on the new habit. So with planning, there are a lot of things that you can put in place, right? Maybe there is a part of your afternoon or evening that you really like. So for instance, there is a particular, I do this in the morning. There's a particular breakfast that I really love having. It's healthy. It's a treat for me. And I will bundle certain activities that I'm trying to make habits with that. So I will tell myself when I was getting into some new kind of finance management activities that I would work on those while I treated myself to this delicious smoothie bowl. So that was a way of doing a temptation bundling. So I want you to think about what could you bundle that is a reward for yourself for sitting down and following your plan. Maybe the reward is at the end of the day. If you have, kept up with your plan, then you go watch that show that you wanted to watch or whatever your temptation might be. Now, I think that it's also important to touch on the topic of procrastination because some people will say, oh, I'm just procrastinating. That's why I'm not following my plan. There are, again, a ton of amazing resources on procrastination out there. The brain, I think it's just important. I want to share with you the brain science behind procrastination. So the reason we all ultimately procrastinate in any moment is because we are naturally wired to avoid stressors, right? Like that fight or flight syndrome. Anytime there is a stressor that comes at us, we are wired to avoid it, either by just kind of freezing or hauling in the opposite direction, right? And so anything that is new or different or feels, potentially hard, whether you realize it or not, is kind of triggering as a stressor. And so your body is going into that fight or flight mode, which is ultimately can lead to procrastination. So if you are someone who is not typically used to following a plan, and the thought of doing so because it's new feels a little stressful, well, now that you've got that stressor, well, you're going to avoid the stressor, which is ultimately procrastination, right? Then we want to say, okay, I just want to feel better now. I don't want to be stressed. So we fall into those old habits. All right. And I think it's important to understand what triggers that procrastination because it gives us the opportunity to say, no, I'm not a procrastinator. I just have a habit of procrastinating. And when we realize that, now we can treat it like any other habit, right? Anytime we want to break an existing habit or change a habit or implement a new one. So again, I know that people ask me this question wanting me to give them, oh, you're having a hard time sticking to your plan. Oh, here, just go do this one easy thing and boom, you're set. It's not that simple. Nothing, well, I mean, it is when you learn the science behind habits, but there isn't a one simple shift I can make for you in your day to say, and now you're going to honor your plan. You need to decide for yourself, is this important enough? Are you ready to take on the identity of someone who honors their plans? And if so, what tools might you lean on? Habit stacking, temptation bundling, being aware of when you are falling into old habits of procrastinating so that you can put that awareness in place. You can say, no, I am not going to procrastinate. I'm going to break that old habit. Now, if it is, remember that it's just completely unrealistic plans, then I 100% would encourage you to go actually do a time audit over the course of a week so that you better understand what is the available budget you're working with, what are your current kind of spoken for expenses with your time so that you have a clear understanding exactly how much time do you honestly have to work with. Now, with that example, I have a ton of resources available for you to help you kind of understand how to create plans that are more realistic. And so just know there is a ton of content out here on my YouTube channel, also inside of the Pink Beat app as well. All right, I will see you back here for our next question that we're going to answer.